show. All righty, let's get into some stuff. So I am back in the home studio. We had a good trading session on what was it Tuesday. Talked about a lot of different stuff. So today, I don't think so. I talked about shorting. I think I'm going to talk about shorting next week. So next Tuesday, I will do an exclusive class just on shorting because I think I want to go through some other things this morning. I want to roll through some questions and stocks that you guys have. But then next week, probably on Tuesday, I will go through just shorting. It'll be about a 15-minute thing. Remember, we talked about it the other day. Shorting is essentially, if you really break it down, and trade the right way with the right ideas and the right rules, just flip your chart over and it's the exact same thing. So that is something that I really want to drive home to people. It is not so scary. It is not this place where you lose infinite amounts of money if you do it the correct way. I don't want anybody thinking that you're going to go through here and you're just going to breeze through like it's nothing. No, it is challenging. Shorting can be scary, but if you have a process there that's going to kind of put stops in place, you're going to be just fine. All right, so let's get into some stuff. You guys send over whatever questions that you may have, and we will get rolling. All right. So the market right now, I believe I saw it was up. Futures were down, actually. I don't know if there was economic news or something that came out, but futures popped back up. I'm sorry, the stocks popped back up after futures were down. So the S&P's up just shy of a 0.5 percentage point. The NASDAQ looks to be about the same. What's the percent? Shade under 1%. Let's look at some gold. PCE came out. Adorable. All right. Let's see what we have here. What is this yellow line? Can I delete this thing? There we go. No idea what this yellow line is. There we go. All right. Gold. So gold has been interesting lately. No, not really that interesting because all we do is drag it out and here it is again. And this is probably the 4th or 5th stream that we've done. So if you've been to all 4 or 5, you can probably already see what I'm going to show you here with gold. It's pretty straightforward. So let's just draw some lines in. You have resistance, 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 and it's coming back up to resistance. Isn't that actually amazing? And here's the funny thing. Let's zoom in on this one candle, this lone candle out here. So the resistance point is, let's put some whiskers on. Let's draw a real resistance point. The resistance is, 2075. And look what happened on this day that you had this long wick. This thing went to a high of 2146, and it closed the day at 2028. 2075 is that kind of number that I pointed out. So isn't that amazing how resistance works? This thing blasted through and everybody probably got really excited because they didn't zoom out and they didn't look at this and they couldn't have saw this, but now you can see it. This, and I drew that one over here. There was something where it peaked a couple of times back at the same price. So this thing broke out, and what did it do? It wicked all the way back down. So you lost all of this. And there probably were people buying in here because they saw it finally breaking that resistance point. All you had to do is probably look at the volume and say, yep, this is not going to work. And here we are. So conversely to gold, let's look at the dollar, UUP. It's something I like to check often, UUP. Let's see, where are we here? Okay, so it's kind of in no man. There's not a lot of resistance, not a lot of support. It's just kind of in no man's land bouncing around. So that is the dollar. Dollar and gold inversely correlate. So if the dollar is up, gold's going to be down. If gold is down, dollar's going to be up. Let's look at some stuff here from Dalton CELH. Celsius Holdings. This is not the drink, is it? This is the drink. That looks like the logo to me. Are you kidding me? That energy drink is public? I've never had one. I don't do energy drinks. I think they're just liquid cancer. But yeah. All right. Anyways. Whoa. Earnings came out. What do? crush on all fronts or something? Oh, earnings are Thursday. Oh, what is this? What's going on here? Earnings are tonight. Wow. This thing's flossing right now. It's up 12%, 13%. Wow. So I think we should go over and CELH. It looks like the move was during the market. Yep. So this is perfect. So if you're looking at a day trade, this is ideal. Big engulfing candlestick in the morning. Even if you don't trade it, you get a follow-up engulfing candlestick. And what do you notice here? This is where the volume capped out on this side. Volume got even bigger. People are just taking profits, but the trend is not changing. This is a really, really, really nice one. And something that if you're a day trader, you want to learn more about day trading, we will just do a full day on day trading coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So if this thing breaks out over this level, and it's probably not going to happen in this candle, it's because it's 10:06. It's probably going to chill here. If the next candle we get this, I will have no hesitation on entering this. So I'm gonna keep watching CELH. What's the current price? Current price is 76.40. What was the high here? 76. So let's look at 77.80. If this gets to 77.80, I'll participate in this one. What dollar amount do you set per trade? Do you cap a dollar amount like $10,000? So typically the most I'll put into any trade, that's a great question, is 20%. So if I'm trading $1 million, I'll put in 200,000 will be my cap. Because remember, the way that I typically trade, and let me rephrase, the way that I typically trade, and I should state that first because I've said it in previous videos, but I'll say it again. The way I typically trade is I have 5 stocks. And I don't deviate from those 5 stocks. Why? I talked about this in an earlier live stream because I like to learn the behavior of a stock. So it's like a relationship. If you know what makes your significant other angry, you don't do that thing. Or if you want to make them angry and you know how to poke their buttons, you do that thing. It's the same thing with a stock. You learn the behavior. You learn that if it gets this influx of volume in the morning, it typically runs out of volume in the afternoon and it doesn't work out. Or if it's having a light volume day in the morning, it usually gets a surge around 1 o'clock. And if it makes this pattern, this is what happens. So you kind of learn from each stock has its own behavior. It's like its own person. So I like to trade 5 stocks over and over. So now that we have that covered, June, I also like to put 20% into a position. So if I'm trading $1 million, I put in $200,000. That's how I go about it. So if I'm trading $5 million, I put in $1 million. If I'm trading $10,000, I put in $2,000. If I'm trading $100, I put in $20. Of course, it's a little bit harder because you have to find stocks under $20, but that's what you do. So that's what I do. You figure out what is most comfortable for you and your accounts and your process, but that is what I personally do because it makes me not go 100% into a position. It doesn't make me have 5% where it's not enough. I want to make the juice worth the squeeze. Plus, remember, when I'm seeing setups, they're really good setups. They're giving me the highest probability to make money. And I'm pretty confident every time I go into a trade. So, and I know that if I lose, I'm going to cut my losses really quick and we'll move on to the next trade. All right? So good question, June. Is that engulfing enough? Dalton, yes, this is absolutely engulfing enough right here. This is absolutely engulfing enough. Coupled with the volume, absolutely, this is engulfing enough. Remember, and we'll do a show on engulfing candlesticks too, and that'll be the focus. But so engulfing basically means you're taking out the previous candle, right? So Dalton, remember, if you have a candle that looks like this, it's hard to replicate this candle with the next one being like this, right? Because I mean, at some point we'll just get to infinity. So you have to kind of make it subjective and say, okay, that was a really big candle. It's gonna be hard to take out that candle. So even like something like that, even though it's not the same size as that one, it's still a really great candle. And also couple it with this, that the volume of this candle was more than the previous candle. So that was a great question. But remember that. Do you start with a 20% position or leg into it? It depends. So if I'm swing trading over here on my daily chart, like if I was trading Celsius today, for example, I would go in with a full 20% position here. And why? Because these trades happen a lot faster. My window for success, like if I were to get in here right on this day. This engulfed over here. Don't worry about all the resistance that was here. I know that this thing's moving through the sweet spot. I only have a couple days. I'll probably have 4, 5, 6 days, 7 days to execute my entire trade. So I'm going to jump in there with my full 20% position. Now over here, I get in. Let's say I got in. Here. I know that I want to enter this thing. I'm going to start easing myself in. I might go 5% to start. 5% of my total, 5% of my 20% that I'm going to put into my total account. And then I'll just add along the way, because what's the goal over here? The goal is weeks to months over here. Hell, to years. Weeks to months to years over here, right? And people are probably saying, how do you go a year in a stock on a trade? Trust me, you can see that it happens. These things will come through the sweet spot and they'll just go sideways for a long time. Google has done it. Costco has done it. Abercrombie Fitch is doing it. There's all so many. Probably the indices are doing it. Probably SPY and QQQ. You can really, really go a long period of time being over here. So I always ease my way in over here, and I always go full bore when I'm day trading. When I'm swing trading and day trading. All right, let's see. Hopefully that answered the question. Morning, Patrick. I'll look at some airlines here this morning. Let's look at American. It's running into a resistance point. It's running into 50%. This is not going to last. If you're interested in shorting, you might as well pay attention to this one for a short. You could probably run this thing down to the 200-day moving average. Not only that, but look at this. You have an ugly face that's being created. So you have an ugly face pattern that's being created coupled with 50% like that. So this thing is going to roll back down. It's absolutely going to roll back down. You're not going to be able to get through here unless you have an incredible amount of volume. Let me add volume to this real quick. Volume, I don't know why it came off. Volume. Okay, and let me adjust this real quick. Make sure it's 30, and I want to make it yellow. Moving average volume, yellow. Okay. And I want to make this solid. Oh no, I don't want that. I want to go back here, 50%. Live on the fly, adjusting things. There we go. But I want my average. But okay. So before I started adding the volume, I wanted to see this. I wanted to see, my caveat was, all right, maybe you will make it through here. You ain't making it through here. Why? Again, ugly face pattern that's being created, 50% rule that we already drew in, and absolute dog poop volume for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 month. Last 5 weeks, 5+ weeks. 5+ weeks, absolute garbage volume. So you're not getting through this level. You're not getting through this 50%. You're not getting through this ugly face pattern. Look for this thing to go short. Let me go to Delta real quick. It would be helpful if I typed in the right ticker, wouldn't it? Delta. I'm assuming. So guys, when you get companies that are kind of all in that same realm, airlines, I'm going to look at Delta. I'm going to look at United Airlines. I'm going to look at American. I'm going to look at these Southwest Airlines. They typically all kind of do the same thing. So if we go like this, you're seeing the exact same thing. 50% rule, right? It's all that overhang. Oops, I got to pull up my chart and show you guys. It's 50% rule, all that overhang. Here's your high, here's your low, here's the middle ground, here's the overhang, just pushing down, pushing down. Not as bad of an ugly face pattern as American, but same situation. And let's look at the volume real quick. Look at that. The volume is almost the same. So let me screenshot this in your mind. Screenshot this chart in your mind, okay? Now let's go to United. It's basically the same thing. 50% rule, high, low, 50%, overhang, and look at the volume the last month. Dog crap, volume. So let's go to Southwest. I don't know if Southwest will be the same. So I categorize, it's breaking through a little bit more, and the volume has been better. So somebody write this down. Write this down. when you're looking at airlines, very important. American Airlines, Delta, and United all roll together. I've noticed this over the past 5-6 months. Southwest Airlines, Alaskan Airlines, Spirit Airlines, JetBlue, they do not run the same. They do not run the same as those three. So, but those are the big three. Those are the big three. So pay attention to those big three and just know that they all run together. And if we pull up the ETF, Jets kind of runs the same. Look at this. Volume is crap. Volume is decelerating. You have 50% rule in here. Here's your high. Here's your low. Here's the middle ground. Can't break through it. So Jets rolls with the big dogs. And I wouldn't be surprised if you pulled up Jets in Yahoo Finance or something. And the biggest players, actually, let's do it. Why not? Let's go to Yahoo Finance. Let's go to Jets. Oops, that's not right. Oops, sorry guys. Jets. And then let's look at holdings. And I'm sure the percentages in there. Ooh, interesting. Southwest is the biggest, but American, United, and Delta. Those are your big players in there. American, United, and Delta. And Southwest is probably why it gets thrown off a little bit as far as being a little bit kind of wavy in here and not really having that ugly face in there. It's probably because Southwest throws it off. But those main three that I said, American, United, and Delta, are in there. All right, let's see. CPI came out this morning. I think it was PCE, or is that what it was? Yeah, PCE, Dalton said. Can you look at PANW? It's had a good run over the year. Most likely long-term trade. All right, PANW. Palo Alto Networks. Isn't this the one that got like a massive day? Yeah, a big drop the other day. I remember somebody told me about this one. 30% drop on earnings. It's had a good, let's see. So I know you're looking at it long-term. I would let this figure itself out first. I don't have enough data in here to tell me that it's going to keep going like this or break down. Even over here, this is weak. This stochastic is weak. This trend line is weak. You can see the roll starting to move over. So, I would say keep it on a watch list, but I wouldn't execute anything with this right now. Let's see what this Celsius is doing. Oh, Celsius is losing steam. I am late like Jerome Powell on interest rate hikes. That was funny. Very good. All right. What else, guys? What other questions do you guys have? Very good. Very good questions so far. But this Palo Alto Networks, I think this is a great learning lesson. Don't get too excited about big moves, especially when you get a 30% drop. We just need to figure out, like, yes, this trend is really nice, but I think that the trend, the stochastic, is being thrown off because of this insane volatility that's happened over the last couple of weeks. Well, last week, really, not a couple of weeks. All right, next. What's next? This one was disappointing. I was really hoping that I could do something with this morning. Let's go look at some tech. Nothing. Google has been bouncing around lately. Google actually had a little bit of a nice run this morning, kind of that same thing. Big engulfing candlestick over the 930 candle. Macy's. Now, I remember we looked at this recently. Did this report, pretty decent short in there. If this breaks below this low, 1785, you might have something there. But I know you probably want to look at it from over here. They reported earnings last week. Yeah, pretty nice looking short here, to be honest with you. You have 5 stocks you always trade. What made you choose those 5 stocks? Well, I like to pick stocks from different sectors. So Bank of America, from the banking sector, obviously. JP Morgan from the I'm sorry, Bank of America from the banking sector, Beazer Homes from the home builders, FCX commodity, it's copper. That one I switch in and out intermittently, just depending on where the market's going. Why am I blanking here? FCX. I always like to have a pharma in there. So I typically will add in like a AbbVie. Moderna, I throw in there every once in a while, depending on where things go. Tech has been hard for me because the techs that you really like to trade are your NVIDIAs, your Googles, your Teslas. See what I did there? Apple, I don't like to trade. Apple's too volatile for me. Shouldn't say that. Apple's not too volatile. Apple doesn't go down for me. Like I like to have stocks that I can go long and go short on. And I have a very difficult time going short on really any of the Magnificent Seven / FANGs. So that's why, June, when I'm day trading, it's all about LABU and LABD, those 3-time levered ETFs. I really like trading jets. I trade that one often. I really like airlines, Delta Airlines, American Airlines. So there's times that I swap things in and out of, but I'm always going to focus on 5. So I might have like 10 stocks that I trade, but like a pool, but there's only 5 that I'm really trading at any given time. And plus it helps me focus on which stocks to trade. All right. Hopefully that answers that question. And by the way, that's not right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. I mean, if you can manage 20 stocks, go for it. If you can manage 50 stocks, go for it. If you can only manage 1 stock, do that. I have a friend, he just trades the S&P 500. He doesn't deviate from the S&P 500. That's it. All he does is 1, and he makes a lot of money. Can we get a class on how we trade LABU and LABD? Yes, absolutely. We'll just do it. We'll do it sometime in the coming weeks. I want to be able to so key things for me. I want to be able to do a shorting seminar, and I want to do a day trading seminar. It's going to be a live stream. So it'll be a live stream on Tuesday or Thursday. So yes, we will do that sooner than later. All right, next. Here's a question for everybody out there. When you look at a chart, especially for you new people, when you look at a chart, what's the most confusing thing to you? What do you look at and say, I just don't understand why this happens? Or this is the one thing that fools me every single time. Or maybe you're brand new and you say, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Go over everything. So let me know kind of what your thoughts are on that. And for those of you that are experienced, you could say the same thing. There's times where you're making a trade and you go, oh, I completely missed that. Or you completely missed that over and over and over again. It's important to keep following up on those little things. It's important for me, even though I've been doing it forever. There's still times where I'll go make a trade and I'm just like, oh man, I missed that. Typically it's when I'm using my phone, which is not the most ideal time to execute trades, but it is true and it happens. All right, let's see if we have anything here. Let's see here. Trying to see if there's anything. Okay, the 50% rule gets me most of the time because I never go far enough back. That is a great thing. So let's go back to the 50%. Let's go back to American Airlines. And let me pull up something. I want to pull this up on my phone real quick just to make sure that I'm showing you guys exactly, because I've made some talking points about 50%. So when you have 50%, you zoom it out. And here's the most important thing, guys. Zoom your charts out as far as you can. You might not use the information, but zoom your charts out as far as you can. It gives you more context. The more context you have, the better off you are. So for example, let's go to Abercrombie and Fitch real quick, and then we'll come back to 50%. So this is Abercrombie and Fitch. It's making new highs. I don't know if it's all-time highs, but come back here and say, okay, it's at 128.07. I'm going back to 2011. So I just keep zooming back. There's nothing in here. There's nothing in here that's saying that we're running into any support resistance here. So it's just a little bit of something that can tell me there's no resistance that I'm going to have to worry about from previous points. Remember, I showed you on Bristol Myers, etc. So when we come to 50%, and I'm going to use the airlines as the example just because we saw it earlier today, it just takes a couple flicks of your fingers, zoom it out, go and look, go and see. So here's what I'll tell you about 50%, Patrick. So when you're looking at this one, let's draw it in blue. Here's your high, here's your low, and I'm looking in the last 52 weeks, okay? And here's that middle ground, right? That's that middle level. And maybe it's a little bit higher. It's probably like here, whatever. Once it gets through that, it'll eventually get through that. It'll push through. Then you have to look and say, okay, I have to be aware that there's another 50% in here. So yeah, you got free. You broke free of the first 50%, but you're going to run into another one. That's why it's always helpful to zoom out. This is going back to 2014 and 2015. Remember what you're fighting against. You're fighting against computers. You're not fighting against people that are looking at this and seeing 50% rules. No, you're fighting against computers, and those computers have algorithms that are built in that say we are at a resistance point. We don't care where the resistance point was determined, but we are at a resistance point, and that is how math works. And this is all, you're just fighting against math. So you have to be aware of where these levels are if you're going to do it manually. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next one. Might as well just look at Delta and United real quick, just to do the same exercise over again. So Delta, same kind of thing. Okay, so the 50% rule is here. We'll just draw it again. High, low, middle, maybe middle, a little bit lower. But then once you break through this one, once you get over this high that I drew in like that, you're going to run into high, low, and middle again. So this is all going to be pushing down. This is going to be very, very, very challenging to break through. And I just zoomed it back again, 2014, 15, 19. Remember, the computer algorithms are still factoring in all of this. They absolutely are. So I hope this is helping just show you guys, just remember, always zoom out. It can only help. It'll take you 2 seconds to zoom out and look and say, all right, where's previous resistance support? So like this, I'm going to zoom. I'm not even going to do 50% on this one. Look at this real quick. Here, consolidation. Here was a peak. There was a consolidation channel at the same price. Here was a peak and a trough. Here was a peak after 2020. Here was a gap that happened during 2020. And then going back into 2016, consolidation, bottom, trough, consolidation channel, troughs, peaks all over. And look at that same level. It's 45.50. Isn't that crazy? So that's why you have to go back, because this level that it's trying to break through right now, not only does it have this 50% to face off against, it has to face off against all of this resistance dating all the way back to 2013 and 14, because the computers are in there saying, hey, that was a resistance point. We're gonna have to worry about that one. Good morning, Steve. ALB is flying. What is this? Albemarle Corp. I don't know what that is. I'm sure I probably should know what it is, but let's look over here. ALB. Nothing really beautiful on a day trade, but consistent days up, consistent gaps up. Where are we at here? Yeah, if you're swing trading this, not bad. I mean, you might be able to swing trade this up to the 200-day moving average. You might. So if you bought below 50%, what would be, okay, I'm gonna have to type the word high. So excuse me, I had this stupid heart in the bottom corner. So if you bought below a 50%, would a good sell point be just before you reach the 50%? Yeah, or when you reach the 50%. I'll do it again. Here, I'll show you guys what I showed you last week, CCL. I think it was last week. So CCL, I'm gonna pull up the long-term chart. Oh boy, what happened? There we go, long-term chart. There you go. And we'll reduce this. There we go. So if you go back in here. So this was, I'll pull up COVID. So this was COVID. You had your high, you had your low, and you had your 50%, which was about here, maybe kind of right in there. So maybe a little bit higher, actually. So maybe like there. Whatever it was, doesn't matter. There was an exact number, okay? So CCL fell big time. I bought it somewhere down in here when it was being beat up during COVID. Stock price ran up, pulled back down because that's what happens with 50 percenters. Pulled back up, ran back down. Pulled back up, ran back down. You can see, now let's zoom in. Now that you have the context, let's zoom into this right here. How many times this thing went up and bounced down and up and bounced down and up and all to the same price, up and bounced down. Now, I ended up selling. I can't remember the exact date. It was either in here or it was in here, but I think it was right here. And I ended up selling. Why? Maybe it was actually here. Either way, it doesn't matter. I ended up selling in here because this was all overhang, pushing down on the stock, right? It was all overhang. And I said, okay, this is clearly not going to break above, I think it was $27 or $28 a share. Now, did it sneak above it for a few days? Yeah. But this told me, I used charts when I was investing saying it can't break through 27, can't break through 28, 30, whatever the number was. I'm going to exit it. I sold all my shares in there. And then you can see what's happened since. We're all the way down here. And it has never returned to that level since. So going to Steel Horse's question, that's how you can use 50%. You sell at the 50%. And I'll remember I was in the woods. I was hiking in the woods when I got the alert on my phone because I set an alert and said, all right, at $30 on the nose or 27 on the nose or whatever the number was, I'm going to sell. I got the alert on my phone, exited the position, turned out to be a really good idea. So 50% rule is very strong. Bitcoin short. El Salvador is flossing. Hans, you are very random today. Are you okay? Okay. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Any other questions, guys? Let's look at Amazon this morning. Amazon. Same thing, consolidating, trying to break out to those highs. Let's zoom it out. You're going to have a very difficult time. So we'll look at the volume right after this. It kind of goes back to the same thing we talked about earlier in the show. It can't break through this resistance point dating back to 2020, 2019. You had an ugly face pattern here. And what happened? The ugly face succeeded as it normally does. You're stuck right at that level of resistance that you can't break through. Let's look and see at the volume. If we have volume, we'll be able to break. It looks like the volume is slowing down. So volume is definitely slowing down. Now, I don't remember. I think it was Z Honeybee or something asked this question last week or Tuesday. How can a stock price go up if there's not a lot of volume? And this is a great example. You have right now a very, very small amount of buying volume coming in, but the stock price does seem to be moving up right now. It's up about 1%. Why is that? Because these 9.5 million people that are buying, I'm just going to use whole numbers, 9.5 million, there's 9.5 million buyers and there's 0 sellers. Of course, that's not true, but I'm just using it for whole numbers. The majority of people are buying right now. So even if you have like 8 million buying and 1.5 million selling, who's going to win? The buyers are going to win. Absolutely, the buyers are going to win. So that's kind of answers that question. All right. Mo, can you do the 50% on KRE? Yes. No, thanks for asking. I had to sit through a pointless meeting at work. I'm getting tele-withdrawals. Okay, well, at least he admits he's not okay. All right, KRE. Let's see what KRE is doing right now. He's talking about 50% on KRE. Okay, so let me just zoom out here real quick. And let's just go. Well, it seems like this is the point. So Here's your high. It seems like your level is here. I feel like it should be here though. But either way, it seems like that's the resistance point. See, I'm kind of bending over. Okay, cool. So this is the level of contention that you're going to have right here. $49, $49.50. Basically the price that it's at. All right. So just be very careful. You got to break through that level. It's going to be very tough for you to go back up. You're getting a reversal. So here's the good news. You're getting a reversal because I know people are short in this. You don't have a lot of volume. The reversal is pretty weak. I don't know if it's going to switch this one over, but man, this is a tough one. Regional banks, though, coming up in March. Today's 29th. So March, mid-March is going to be when beginning of March is going to be when the regional banks start doing their stress tests and everything. So if there's bad news out of the stress tests, could be bad for the regionals, just like it was last year. All right, guys. Any other questions? Any last questions that you have? Would love to run through a couple more things before we get out of here. So remember, today's Thursday. Sunday, we'll have new content coming out on the channel. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel, like everything out there, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified of new content that comes out when I go live. If you forget, if you don't have it marked on your calendar, but it's every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then Sunday mornings, new content comes out. So always be watching for that. It will definitely benefit you on your journey. I will hold my short and see what happens. It has been so bad the last 4 years in March. Yeah, you're absolutely right. June, thanks for tuning in and being a religious follower. I really appreciate it. Alibaba. So here's what's going to happen with Alibaba. If Alibaba doesn't get above this level right here, 120.202, 122. If Alibaba doesn't get above, I shouldn't say if it doesn't. When Alibaba gets above 120, it'll be off to the races. But until then, it's just going to be in this consolidation channel between 100 and basically 70. It's just going to keep bouncing back and forth and nothing is going to change. So nobody should be getting excited about Alibaba unless it breaks and holds above 122. That's pretty much my overall consensus on it. Can it drop back to $58? Yes. Do I think it will? I think 70 is more likely, 65, something like that. But it's not going to go anywhere unless it breaks above $122. Yeah. You think Powell doing another rate hike will break SPY's power stock? Nah, I'm sure they'll find a way to spin it in a positive direction. I have not gotten more phone calls during a live stream ever. All right. You should be excited about yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that may be it. So really great day. Really great day. Wish we could have done something with that Celsius company, but in every life, a little rain must fall. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you guys. Subscribe to the channel and please click those buttons. I'll see you guys on Sunday.